What's up guys, my name is Mark, and in this video I'm going to compare the Super Multi-Coated Takumar 135 f2.5 5-element to the Super Multi-Coated Takumar 135 f2.5 6-element.
So this is the 6-element version.
Yes.
So what's the difference between the 6-element and the 5-element version?
There's a cult following for the 6-element. Everybody seems to think it's better than the 5-element. It probably is. And with 6 elements, that they've corrected more aberrations. Therefore sharper.
So it's a sharper image. Oh, that'd be an interesting test though. So is it because they're more rare? Is that why you think the cult exists?
No, they're equally findable as the 5-element one.
Do they go for more?
Yes, they do.
They do go for more. Okay.
Because of the cult following, because of the corrected aberrations, it's the newer design as well.
Should I join the cult?
Now I already had the 5-element version of this lens, but the second I heard cult following, I was sold on the 6. And a big part of that decision really came from wanting to do my own side-by-side comparison video to see how the two lenses stack up against each other. So here we are. Now, let's meet the lenses. Now version 1 was produced between 1971 and 1972. It's an M42 mount with an aperture range of f2.5 to f22. It uses 5 optical elements in 4 groups and has a 6-blade aperture. And you can find it online for about $130 US. Version 2 started production in 1972 and is also an M42 mount. It has an aperture range of f2.5 to f22, and the big difference with this lens is it uses 6 optical elements in 6 groups and has an 8-blade aperture, which is supposed to have a positive impact on the overall image quality. Now it goes for about $180 US online. Now the 6-element version of this lens is a little bit taller and a little bit heavier than the 5-element. Now physically the two lenses are almost identical, but there are a few markings that tell them apart. The easiest way to determine if it's a 5 or 6 element can be found right here on the focus ring. The 5-element has an 8 on either side of the orange diamond. And if you roll the focus to infinity, you'll see a 30 next to it. Now on the 6-element version, there is a number 4 directly on top of the orange diamond. And the number next to the infinity focus is 35. There is another way to determine the difference between the two, but it's a little harder to spot. Both lenses have a serial number on the back of the auto manual switch. The 5-element version of the lens, 43801, where the second last number is a 0. And on the 6-element version of the lens, 43812, where the second last number is a 1. So is the 6-element version optically better than the 5? And if so, by how much? Questions I'm hoping to get some sort of answer to, but in order to do that, we're going to have to take the next part of this video outside for a little camera test. Now I'd be lying if I said shooting in this type of weather was easy. It's not. It's cold, it's wet, and this time of year you get lots of days like this. There's also a serious lack of color, making doing these lens tests a little more challenging than in the summer months.
My first lens here is for the camera is the 5-element version.
Wide open, the background of the busy trees is creamy smooth, not too distracting, and has a surreal, dreamlike quality to it. Stopping down reveals more texture and details in the background, but it also sharpens up the overall image. Now, wide open, the focus point is razor thin, and both lenses have a 270-degree focus throw, which is essential to nail that focus. It does take some practice and patience, but when you get it, you own it. A side-by-side comparison of the 5 and 6 reveals more apparent chromatic aberrations on the 5 element when zoomed in. Now, stopping down a bit reduces the amount of chromatic aberrations on both lenses, and at f5.6, the problem is almost completely eliminated. Both lenses have equal vignetting performance at f2.5. But the effect gets reduced when you stop down, and by f3.5, it's pretty much gone. Now, one thing I noticed right away is the sharpness of the 5 element wide open has some fall off around the edges. Comparing that to the 6 element, you can see pretty clearly the difference. The center for both images are sharp and in focus, and as we move toward the corner of the frame, you can see the writing on the bricks on the 5 element version is noticeably more blurry than the 6. Now, based on the test shots that I did, I would say that yes, the 6 element version of the lens has a slight optical advantage over the 5, given it's the newer design and the existing reputation, so no surprises there. Now, I do think that for the most part, the differences are small enough that if I weren't comparing them side by side, I might not even notice. Now, for both lenses, the color is natural, impressive, and beautiful. It's not tack sharp wide open at f2.5, and there is some fall off at the edges, which seem to be more prominent in the 5 element version, but by f3.5, the sharpness improves across the board. It has pronounced chromatic aberrations wide open in bright backlight, where the 6 element seems to have a bit better performance over the 5. Now, despite the price difference, optically and physically, I feel like these lenses are worth a lot more than what I paid for them. So depending on your budget, what you value, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these lenses at the current price point. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think the 6 element is worthy of the cult following? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Well guys, that's it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Banging them off, banging them off.